I recently talked about the collapse of the governing coalition here in Germany, which was probably a mistake because of course my video was out of date before I could even get started on the edit. And this is why I don't talk about current affairs so often. If you haven't seen that video yet, you probably should watch it first. I've put a link in the description. But there is one thing that, quite understandably, confused a few people, and it's this. Why can't the opposition force a vote of no confidence? Why is the Chancellor doing it himself? Part of the confusion arises from the fact that there is actually a difference between a vote of no confidence and what the Chancellor is planning, which is a vote of confidence. You would expect a vote of no confidence to come from the opposition because it is a way for the Assembly to say that they no longer support the government. But that's not an easy thing to do in Germany. There are strings attached. It's described in the law as a constructive vote of no confidence, and that is because it is not a way to dismiss the government. It is a way to replace the Chancellor. And that logically means then that the Assembly needs to nominate a replacement, and then the vote becomes a contest between two people. If the incumbent wins the vote, then nothing changes. If the new candidate wins, then Germany gets a new Chancellor. What Germany does not get in this case is an early election. The new Chancellor takes over and probably appoints a new cabinet, but the electorate doesn't get a say. Remember, in a parliamentary democracy, the head of government is not directly elected. The people elect a parliament, and parliament elects a head of government. There have only ever been 2 votes of no confidence in the entire history of the Federal Republic of Germany. In 1972, Chancellor Willy Brandt was challenged by Rainer Barzel, but so many members of the Bundestag failed to submit valid votes that Brandt won easily. And in 1982, Chancellor Helmut Schmidt was challenged by Helmut Kohl, and this time the challenge was successful, but only just. Kohl won by 7 votes. So while in this case the opposition could table such a motion, it would require them to agree on a replacement, and it wouldn't result in a snap election. What Scholz is doing is the opposite. He wants to ask the Bundestag if he still has their support. It's a vote of confidence. In effect, the Chancellor asks, do you still support me? Or alternatively, here's a law that I want you to pass. Can I count on your support? There have so far been 5 such votes, of which 3 resulted in defeat for the Chancellor. And in all of those 3 cases, the Chancellor then exercised his right to ask the President to dissolve the Bundestag and call for an early election. This is one of the very few ways it is possible in Germany to trigger a snap election. And critics often complain that it is frequently misused to do exactly that. One of the most obvious examples involves Helmut Kohl. Remember how he became Chancellor after defeating the previous Chancellor in a vote of no confidence? Well, once in office, he reasoned that a new election would legitimize his chancellorship because it would almost certainly give his party more seats. A majority of 7 is not a good place for a Chancellor to be. He could have resigned and then hoped that the Bundestag would fail to elect a successor and that the President would call for an early election instead of risking a minority government. But it was far easier and quicker to simply lose a vote of confidence and ask for an early election, which is exactly what he did, although the President was very unhappy about it. In this case, at least Scholz is using this option for its intended purpose. His government is in real trouble, and without the support of the Bundestag, it would indeed be unfair to the German people to drag this out for almost a whole year. So I hope that's made things a little clearer for you. I have made another video with some more personal thoughts about this whole government collapse story, and that's available for channel members of level Beta and above to watch. And if you are interested in supporting me with a channel membership to unlock exclusive content, you can find out more by simply clicking or tapping on the join button that you should see with this video somewhere, or using the link in the video description. And also, thank you so much to all those who have already joined. The link in the description. But lose a vote of lose a vote of confidence. The opposition could table such a motion. Oh.